And we're recording. What's up, guys? This is Zero, and welcome to Absolute Zero. Joining me today is my friend John and Andrea. And today we're going to be talking about girls in gaming, in the gaming world, and or the gaming industry. And yeah, we're going to talk about that. So, God, I don't even know where to start. So, Andrea, why don't you just take the lead on this one?
Oh, sure. So, when we talk about gaming, there's video gaming, and then, of course, there's, like, kind of the original gaming, which is paper and pencil tabletop gaming. And that's actually what I do the most, probably, is pencil, paper, tabletop gaming. But I do really like video games, but they just aren't fulfilling the kind of needs that I get out of traditional RPG games. So, you know, that's really where we are, is that as far as for a girl player, it's much easier for me to get a bunch of other girl players together to play like Bessem or White Wolf or something like that than it is for me to get a bunch of girls together to play Neverwinter.
Right. So
it's just not going to happen.
John here used to run our D&D sessions back in the day, Buffet, and it was just a bunch of dudes. So
yeah, well, just a bunch of. And you only showed up for like 2 sessions, and then got upset. For some reason, you didn't like the fact that your characters kept dying.
You guys kept.
Totally not my fault.
You guys kept. I left for one session. You guys killed me off. Travis took me behind his shed and cut my head off. Yeah, there was a miscommunication.
Yes, you did, but that was because of John. That was because of John.
That's fine. I don't care. It's fine. It was still kind of fun.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah, John, why didn't we have any girls?
Because I didn't know enough women who wanted to play, and I did actually ask. I'm not fortunate enough to have that many female friends who are into gaming. I wish I did. It would be great. It would be certainly make things more fresh, and I wouldn't, I mean, I'm running the session, so if there's female NPCs, I have to play them anyway. But of course, I don't really mind that. Remember, I am the guy who dresses Catwoman.
He goes all out as a DM. He does the voices and everything, and it's awesome. So.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like if somebody wants to play a female character, which doesn't generally happen. A guy playing a female character is not quite the same impact as a woman playing a female character, or vice versa or whatever. I mean, not that you shouldn't have the option. It's just it would be nice to have more perspectives. To not just always be a total bro fest or whatever. It's just I haven't encountered that many. Certainly I'm not close to the idea. I would encourage it. It's just I don't know that many people are into it.
Yeah, so I started DMing back in '99 because I was on a chat room, and this will date me a little bit because it was a modem chat. And they were saying, "Oh, there's no such thing as a female DM. They're like unicorns. Everybody talks about them, but no one's actually seen one." And I said, "That's not true. Well, I don't know of any, but I could do it. There's no reason why I couldn't do it. I have done it for a really long time." So I started being a DM, and I moved a lot of different places. Like I moved to Hawaii, and I had a game there, and I moved to Portland, and now I have a game here. And I just find that it's really hard to find other female players because they get the idea that the game is too complicated and that they're going to be bogged down by it, that it's going to be too much of a commitment, that they're going to have to like devote their life to this fake character that doesn't actually exist. And it's just not true. Like, first thing, the games are, it really depends on the game, but some of them are super simple.
I know
and
the
then
one that
the
me
other
and
thing
John
is
did was
that
super simple.
Yeah, because I don't like getting bogged down in rules any more than anybody does. I think I mean, it's nice when you're like 12 years old and you have all the time in the world to learn the game and just be totally invested in it. But when you're an adult with other commitments and responsibilities and you're playing with other adults, you don't want to get into an endless 4-hour discussion about how the grappling rules work.
Yeah, so and that's where a good DM comes in, is because a good DM, even if there is a discussion about how the grappling rules work, should be able to just make a call and say, hey, we're going to just take that and we're just going to move on with it. And then if there's feedback later that says, okay, I found where the rule is, and I really want it to go this way in the future, and then you can let everyone know, hey, we figured out the rule, and this is how it's going to work in the future. Just FYI. Yeah, and that's just something you kind of pick up with a little bit of experience playing with a good DM that kind of rubs off on you.
Yeah.
But I think one bad DM will just completely ruin your experience, which is one of the things that does kind of happen, especially if you go to cons and stuff where you'll go to try a new game, like an indie game or something, and then you get this terrible storyteller. Just kind of ruins it for you.
Yeah, it's best when you can really get like an intimate group together, preferably friends or people who know each other a little bit. When you're thrust into a situation with strangers, it's always a crapshoot.
Yeah, that's right. So,
and I guess in terms of adding new members, I mean, we never had a girl join our group, so we never really had that dynamic of adding another girl and whether or not there was going to be an issue or whether we were welcoming enough. So I'd like to think that we would have been good. I know you.
Yeah.
Have
I'm not so sure about Travis, but
that is a very good point. Travis probably would have hit on her all the time.
Yeah. Which, I mean,
so
yeah.
So I have a few rules that I'd like to give potential DMs who want to make a friendly environment for newbie girls particularly. So some do's and don'ts, as it were. So very, very simply, make sure there's enough time in the session to allow a new player, this goes for guys too, to be honest with you, to make a decision that's their own decision, and they don't feel like they're being railroaded to do a particular activity. Also, you always want to make sure that they're not relegated to an unimportant character, that they're just like, oh yeah, it's the extra guy. We don't actually need him. He's just over there.
She's just a bard.
Yeah, just the bard. Yeah, don't relegate newbies to unuseful characters. They will notice. They will, and they'll take it personal. And girls especially, they don't. It's like you know what? You're a girl. You should play a healer. And it's like healers are.
Thing? You need healers
really,
though.
You want to be a healer.
But exactly, if she's like, you know what I want to be? A healer. That's awesome. But just like you're the girl, you should play the healer.
You should be
it's
the
like
tank.
The white mage. Yeah, you should be the white mage. But no, it's and then also I would. Have strong female NPC characters as actual characters that they create, and then finally, then this is like the only don't, like these are things you should do and these are the things you should don't use very stereotypical tropes, which is the damsel in distress, virgin sacrifice, scantily clad slave girls. Just to veer away from it. I would prefer you guys to veer away from it, even if it is an all guy table. I still think you should try to make a more interesting storyline than a girl got kidnapped.
I know John's stories were fucking nuts and they were awesome.
Well, I do try to make them as nuts as possible, but
except for that one awful character,
right, look,
the evil dude that kept sealing my mouth shut was awful.
That was awesome, by the way.
No,
he was not evil.
He was evil.
He was not evil. He was not. If you had played more than 2 sessions, you would have realized what that character was about. Anyway, that's not the point.
Okay.
The point is, when I run RPGs, when I use female characters. Yeah, like sometimes you will get the players like, Travis, who will try to roleplay, and try to, as the character, hit on women or try to pick up women or do that kind of stuff. And I know he's just trying to be, funny and goofy and whatever. But the point is, I like having female characters kind of rebuff those advances whenever possible, just to, insulting, their manhood and all that sort of thing, just because it's so you know, it's just so stupid, and it is. It's an overused trope to have like women everywhere and just like being in submissive roles.
Heroes, thank you for saving us. We repay you with tons of women.
That's just
we've been ever so naughty.
Yeah, unless you're like actually using that for like comedic purposes and like making fun of it, it's just it's lazy, it's tired, and it's kind of pathetic.
Yeah, it is a little bit. So those are the things I would recommend. And as far as the girls who want to get into gaming groups, I think it's good to cut your teeth with other noobs, because you'll feel a little bit less like you're on the same level with everybody else, and everybody's kind of learning it together. So just get together with a couple of girls, grab yourself a red box, and they're all pre-generated characters and a set adventure, and just play it and learn the rules kind of in a slow, like comfortable environment. And then you can feel like you're comfortable enough to like jump in with a more experienced group and get kind of a handle of what you want. Because there's sort of a chicken and egg thing with being a player. Like, you have to know the game well enough to create a character, but you have to create a character before you can play the game. So you end up like everyone's first character ends up being this piece of
Yeah.
I mean, that's where having
so start with something.
A good DM take the time to teach everybody on the same level. I mean, get everyone.
And if you're not keen, on Dungeons and Dragons because you find it bogged down with game mechanics, there are a lot of games, like role-playing games, that have just very few actual mechanics, like Fiasco and In a Wicked Age and Dogs in the Vineyard and some of these other games.
They're
just storytelling.
John, what was the
They're
one
just
that
storytelling and.
The one I was using for that campaign was called Advanced Fighting Fantasy 2. It's based on the Fighting Fantasy series of game books, the Choose Your Own Adventure style books, and it gets out of the way. It lets you do whatever you need to do and just lets you kind of run it quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was
and there's a lot of people who that's their big complaint about the big role-playing games that are really popular, is that they're very bogged down by rules, like Exalted. I really love the look and the feel of it, but I have a really hard time. Like, I have to read a history of a foreign world before I can play a confident character, and that's just not something.
Yeah, it doesn't sound
not something I'm keen about. I want to make my own character and my own history and my own background. I don't want to have to wean it away from someone else's fiction.
Right.
That makes sense. So, if only we could get more girls to play games with us.
Well, I think it might be easier to get women to play something like a tabletop game where it's a smaller group, you know everybody involved, or at least you have some face-to-face contact with them. When it comes to things like online gaming, in terms of video games, that's where it starts to be more of a minefield, because there's a lot of harassment involved, and obviously this is a big topic lately, last few years, especially on the internet, this whole idea of women in gaming, creating safe spaces within gaming so that we don't have to have sexism and harassment and all of that. And these are very important conversations that, I think we need to make more progress on.
So let me ask you, this is the most unscientific of surveys, but for video games, what is it that you're going to be representing the male species here, just so you know. What is it that you look for in a game? Like, what is it that brings you to the game and keeps you there? What is the element to it?
So I'll go first. I say for a video game, just probably good story would probably keep me involved long enough. Something that's not repetitive, so I don't want to be told, okay, go kill 10 guys over here, or do this, or whatever, so mix it up a bit, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, I don't really, I can't really explain it. If it's a good game, it's a good game. Like, I'm playing Watch Dogs right now, and it mixes it up a bunch, so where elements that don't seem predefined happen to you all the time, and it's just crazy. You're like, oh, that was awesome, I can't believe that just happened, and then it mixes in the story. So so far, I like Watch Dogs, and it's a really good game. But if we were talking like a role-playing game, I guess probably to feel comfortable around the people, to be wonky or weird or whatever to fit my character. So if I was role-playing, that I wouldn't feel out of place, you know? So if it was a new group, I'd be more hesitant to be another person in terms of a character.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's me. John?
Yeah.
The number one thing, I mean, it varies depending on the genre, but the number one element I'm looking for in most games is freedom. To be able to make my own choices and feel like I'm having an actual impact rather than following a script. And in terms of RPG specifically, good role-playing, meaningful character interaction, not just like, I'm the designated hero, so I'm going to go do this quest, do this thing. I'd like to have more options, which is why I tend to like things like the Baldur's Gate games or the Dragon Age games, Mass Effect, those kind of things that give you a lot of options in terms of how you can roleplay, but I also like the freedom of something like the Elder Scrolls series, even games that aren't necessarily like RPGs like Minecraft or Terraria or Cube World, where you can kind of explore. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much what I like in games, most of all.
Yeah, so I've been talking to, chatting with some of the girls I know about what they like about games, and this is kind of an armchair theory I'm coming up with, that video games and the communities of video games are made by guys to serve what guys want from the games, and they're not made by women, so they don't serve what women want from games. And when I talk to girls about their favorite games, both on the table and in computer, they talk about camaraderie and making an interesting character and being able to have an interesting story that they kind of chose themselves and actually built themselves in some way. And there's a few games like Fable and stuff like that that did give you a little bit of freedom in the storytelling aspect, but it still was very, very binary, like, you know, it was going to go one way or another. It wasn't going to give you a ton of choice. So you have some of the games that have the most women in them, like Second Life, where they have all of this freedom to kind of create their own world and their own little communities. But it is the internet, so it is not a safe place to be. It is not a place where people are protected for
Because I'm going to go on my Second Life female character and infiltrate the safe haven. And then I'm going to troll the shit out of everybody.
I know, it's just terrible. And then we always have to do all these crazy things when, you know, it's really just this handful of people who are just a pain in the butt, and then it just kind of ruins
Trolls
it for the rest of us.
That's all there is to it. Can't stop the troll.
Well, I think there can. I think it's that, I mean, you can't stop the occasional person ruining everybody's fun, but I do think that what happens to me, like when I'm playing like PlanetSide 2, for example, is I'll be trying to do a maneuver, like take a bridge or something like that, and I will say something, and suddenly it's like silence.
Everyone's like, "Holy shit, it's a girl!" Holy
and
shit.
Nobody ever follows my recommendations at all. Like, they just completely ignore me, and I don't know why this is, because I have all of the equipment because I was spending hours being an engineer, so like I know what I'm doing in this case. But it's
Right.
and it's so the things I would like is to see more women in development so that they can serve more of what I think of are just things that women want from games more, which is like a sense of camaraderie.
But you got to remember that, unfortunately, most of the profits that come from games like Call of Duty and stuff, most of the people are going to be guys playing that. So they're going to try to make them happy. So that means big tits, skinny, skimpy costumes, and big explosions and dudes. It's not going to be romantic comedy Call of Duty 2, you know? I mean, that's awful.
There's a middle ground between Call of Duty and romantic comedy, first of all.
Yeah.
But second of all, people often use this argument like it's just economics, it's what sells, and that's a very kind of cold argument, and it also holds the video game genre down.
I'm not using it as an excuse, but that seems like
that's
the case.
You're not. I'm just saying that like people do like use this like. Even people who agree, like, oh, it's not great, but it's just how the economy works. Well, that's kind of an excuse, because we have all kinds of movies out there. We all got
there is a middle ground where both the guys and the girls will be happy.
Yeah. So if video games are going to be taken as seriously as an actual art form, they should be able to encompass all kinds of experience. We need more diversity in gaming in general, not just in terms of the types of games that we can play, the types
And
of
if the
experience.
video game companies realize
people who are
that, they
making
could double their profits. Because let's say that
Yeah.
you're missing out on the entire female section of that. They should be able to be
Yeah.
playing that. So
The
that's
bottom line
you're
is
missing out
you
on
can
all
have
of
both.
that.
You can have both. You can have the AAA military shooter, super ultra masculine stuff. You can have that.
Call of Duty
That's
Dog.
fine. That's not going away. But you can
They're
also
cutting
have all this other
themselves
stuff.
out. They're
Yeah.
cutting themselves out of an important thing. So, for example, like my mom, she'll swear up and down she doesn't play video games. She spent hours on Farmville and Candy Crush and all of these
That's
other
totally
games.
a game.
And it is totally a game, but she
they are games, yeah.
doesn't think of herself as a video game player because she equates a video game player as somebody who sits down for hours at a time in front of a console and or in front of a computer making a fake persona and gathering fake gold. She thinks that's what gaming is, and it certainly always will be. I can't imagine it ever going away. But if you really want to like get all of the different demographics. And, you're saying that there's not money in this. Candy Crush has made a lot of money off of casual gamers that
there's certainly money, yeah.
don't think of themselves as gamers. So if you could pull those people in and get them buying.
I just realized that my mom's totally a casual gamer. God damn, that blows my mind.
She's so
Hi,
happy.
Mom. Yeah, I know you're gonna
There's
watch
so
this.
many casual. There are casual gaming 4-year-olds playing Angry Birds for hours at a time. I have a friend with a kid who doesn't like the kids. Like, you want to keep him quiet for 10 minutes, just give him the tablet with Angry Birds for a few minutes, and he'll just do that for. He's terrible at it, but he's 4, so it's shiny and it goes bleep. So that's what's important. So you have all these games. So like shooters is the example of where. I'm frustrated with shooters because they never represent a story I want to pursue. They're always the same thing. Like, they haven't actually changed what's going on since Doom. You're either stuck behind enemy lines or you're looking
Saving
for somebody.
the world.
Yeah.
Usually saving the world.
You're either killing aliens, or you're killing enemies, or you're killing Nazis. Like, who cares? It's all the same over and over.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing that's happened in the last 5 years was the zombie shooters. Because they're like, oh, look, we've come up with something else to shoot at. And so now there's all these
Speaking
zombies.
of
Just everything
zombies, speaking of zombies, one of our previous episodes of Absolute Zero is totally about zombies and why they're good bad guys, and this keeps switching between cameras here. So watching
Good thing I wasn't on that episode.
too. Yeah, no, because I don't know. I just
My dislike of zombies is well known. So
dislike of zombies, which is funny because we
I just
totally
think they're-
played a
they're
role-playing
boring.
game that was zombies when we weren't with you.
I know. Actually, I helped John out in preparing for that.
Oh, of course. But you were like, the whole time, he's like, I hate this. You realize this. I hate zombies. So I'm going to wrap this up. So a quick summary about girls and games. And don't be afraid to talk to your guy friend and totally get in on it, because it's going to be awesome. And even though we don't ask, or if we do, don't be afraid, because it would honestly add cool dynamics to our small 4-person dude groups.
Yeah. Yeah. And if if your guy friend is resistant to the idea of women being in gaming, that's
him
not
in
the kind
the
of guy you need to
face.
be playing games with.
Where's a warning sign? That's
know.
a warning sign.
There you go.
Be like,
And if
I don't want you to play with us, because you're a
and
girl.
and getting into game development, like, girls need to be more into game development. There's a ton of cool
Absolutely.
stuff they could
A
contribute,
lot of
either
3D
writing.
artists are girls, and I'm happy to see that. Unfortunately, my graduating class was all dudes. And then the
Yeah.
other class that ran alongside of us had one girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of thing happens
So,
a lot,
if
unfortunately.
you like doing art, then why not make video games? You can be that one that makes those
Yeah.
tits smaller so they're not
be
bouncing
the
all over the
change you want to
place.
see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
I would like, and that was one comment from a friend of mine, that every game should have a male or female protagonist option. That the whole, like, constantly being,
I agree.
I get to play a guy. I always have to play a guy. If I'm playing Dark Souls or whatever, I get to play a guy, and that's just how it is, because there's very often not a dynamic there.
Yeah.
I know at least in my game, we will have a female protagonist option. There's a guy and there will be a female, and you can play as either one. So that's me for game development. My faith in humanity is slightly restored in terms of WildStar. I think they complained that the boobs were too big, so they reduced them. So good on you guys. But I think that's going to do it unless anyone else has anything else to say. Anybody?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh, if you're looking for a gaming group in Portland, Oregon, go to the meetup site and look for Lady Monster Slayer Society. We're a group of all great gamer girls, and we're on meetups. You just have to sign in, make a profile, and then look for available events. We've got everything you could possibly imagine. Fate and Pathfinder and Shadowrun, anything you'd like.
Cool. I will put a link of that in the description so you guys can find it nice and easily for those who do watch my channel. I'm talking to you, 48 subscribers. Love you guys.
There might be more. I'll link it back to our group.
Yeah. All right. So, like I said, guys, it's going to do it for this episode of Absolute Zero. And don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next episode. I got to turn this thing off.